Hey y'all, and welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm with Jonathan.
Hey, y'all.
And today we're going to be going over the news. We have some esports desk, and then we're talking about top 5 Avatar episodes. Avatar: The Last Airbender finally on Netflix. It's pretty amazing. That's the original animated series. Jonathan, how have you been lately?
Good.
Watching anything new?
Not recently, no.
You're in the middle of moving, so
Yeah,
your
kind
life is
of
pretty
puts a
busy.
damper on things.
Yeah. All right, so let's just go ahead and get right into the news. We have Epic showed off their Unreal Engine 5 with a tech demo. It was revealed on May 13th, and it shows the Unreal Engine 5 that's going to be used in the PS5, Xbox One, and Series X, and then some of the new. They're actually going to be able to use that on mobile games too.
Really?
Yeah.
It just seems so vast to work on
It is
a device
insane.
like that.
Yeah. This is one of the most common engines in gaming. It's what's behind Hellblade 2, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and Outer Worlds. All amazing, massive games. That's what the number 4 is. Epic Games has been hard at work at developing Unreal Engine for the next generation of systems. The tech demo released, it was using a PS5 dev kit. So there might have been some partnership because they said they've been working hard with Sony. So and they mentioned PlayStation during the demo kit too. Okay, so the environments were all photorealistic, and that's one of the things we'll talk about is how they're able to basically take an asset from a film's CGI and then just implant it into games now without it losing any quality, which is pretty amazing. So let's talk about some of the features. We have Nanite, which is this virtualized geometry. So it's film quality assets with billions of triangles. That just seems crazy. This new tech will remove the current polygon budget. This means the creators can take an asset like from a film project and import it directly into Unreal Engine 5. So we were talking about while we were watching the tech demo that if you think about Avengers, we have the Avengers video game coming up. But if you were to make it with this, you could literally just take the Iron Man suit and put it in the game. And then just say, like, that's the Iron Man suit. And it wouldn't lose any. It's completely lossless.
Yeah.
Pretty insane. Any other CGI you could think of that you'd want to play with in a game?
Not right off the I don't know. All of them, really. All the good, blockbuster movies make a game. If it's that easy to just transfer it over, then you can make some awesome, characters. Add them to Smash Brothers and stuff like that, too.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I didn't even think about all this. Because Nintendo doesn't technically use Unreal Engine much, if at all. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what they can do with that, too. Then we have Nanite, which is... then we have Lumen. Fully dynamic and real-time global illumination. What this is they can have a directional light. So they could say, like, this is the sun up here, and then the lighting will react to the environment as it's supposed to. As you move the lighting source, the shadows and everything like that will react properly. You can have light from multiple resources. So it's pretty crazy. In the tech demo, we saw how they had the sun coming through the caves.
Yeah.
And the way it made the shadows off the rocks that were sitting on the ground. I mean, it was just like... The processing power is unreal.
I like how the light reflects accurately. So it's not just the sun's coming through a crack and it makes a cracked line on the ground.
Yeah.
It glows around the rest of the room. So it's very accurate, mechanically accurate.
Yeah, it was very cool. Then we have Niagara, which is this advanced simulation with particle intercommunication. Objects interact with each other to create a living world. The example used here was the beetle scurrying from the light. So now they could actually have it to where, now that you have a source for the light, you can have things react to that light showing on them. So when you shine the light on the beetles, they all scattered, stuff like that. And it is not like it's a cinematic where you're telling it to do that.
Yeah.
Anywhere the players go, the light will scatter the beetles, stuff like that. You could have not just the player's input creating the next thing. You could have a chain of that now going on.
Yeah. And you could probably do that with almost anything now. You can, anything that you can replace the light with, like heat or energy weapons or something like that, or magnetism. Make the environment affected, accurately like that with everything.
And what's neat is, like, if you were to have something like that in a game right now, that would be the purpose of the game. I'm thinking like Portals kind of thing.
Exactly.
Now that could just be a small facet that's in the background that's just supposed to create a more immersive world. It doesn't have to necessarily be the whole purpose of the game.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need that much computing power anymore. So it's pretty amazing. Then we have predictive foot placement for high-resolution environments. This is another really cool thing. So you have your character, you've done all the rigging, and you've told your character how to react to things. Then if you tell your character to walk from point A to point B and there happens to be steps in the way or uneven ground or whatever, they'll naturally walk on that like they should.
Yeah. No bugging where their foot's floating over a block or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times that happens where you sit there and you can zoom in on the character and see, like, they're a little bit above it.
Or their shoes in the step instead of on top of the step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it's more about that immersion, and that's pretty cool. Then we have intelligent flocking with spatial awareness, and I was telling you I wanted to explain this later on because it's really cool, and they didn't do a good enough job explaining it in this. So in the tech demo, we had these bats fly through a cave and then they just leave. And they're talking about this new technology. What's going on is they're telling the bats basically, they're telling them like, this is your guys' space, and then that's your space once you leave the cave. And so now the bats understand where the walls are, and the bats will fly and they'll keep their distance from each other and from the walls. And then as soon as they get past the boundaries of the cave, you see them actually like flutter out a little bit more and then kind of spread out because they know that the boundaries are a little bit more, so they have a little more cushion room, so they take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And that's just computing power happening on each one of the bats, knowing where the walls are at.
So you just give each of them the freedom to move within a certain set of parameters and then let them loose.
Yeah, instead of having that an actual like determined, destination.
Yeah.
That's where it's all coming down to right now. Is now we're actually letting things do what they should do in a world, and then you just build a world that they play in.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. And then we have the seamless contextual interactions. This is another thing where it's just trying to get you into more into the immersion, where you can tell a character like, hey, when you're by a door, put your hand on the door is the example they used. Or when the space is a little too tight, you're gonna go sideways and try to squeeze through. So you create these different rules for your character, and then when you have them doing things within their engine, that character will naturally go for those. So they'll naturally try to live in that world. If it's a person with a bad back, maybe next to a table, they put their hand on it. Stuff like that. You can really build up these characters. So they're going to continue their testing. They've been testing a lot of this engine in Fortnite, which is, an Epic game. And they said that that Fortnite will eventually be converted over to Unreal Engine 5. So who knows what that'll do. That'll open up the game quite a bit.
I'm wondering if this is going to take, like you're saying, it doesn't take much computing power, but it seems like it would. Like I get the new Xbox and new PlayStation are going to be, massively powerful. But will our computers, like if we want to use this engine on our computer, PC games, will we need to upgrade our components?
There will be a factor of upgrading, and we have the DDR5 that's like right now happening, and so we're about to move up in a whole of computing. That doesn't sound right. Of computing.
Computing power.
Computing power, thank you. So it is all moving up, but it's just, yeah, I know.
It's the next generation, but we got to catch up with it.
Exactly. Like, how much more am I spending? I mean, the fact that they said they could be played on mobile games is just kind of like, oh,
that's so weird. Yeah, it's so crazy to me. It doesn't seem like, I mean, I know our phones are smart, but it just doesn't seem like they could handle loading a world like that. My computer struggles with, Minecraft and Sea of Thieves, let alone, my phone. But.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the future too is in the streaming the video games to your phone, like they do with Stadia, stuff like that. So that also would take some of the power off of you. And what we saw was very tailor-made to show off what the engine can do. Yeah. So there are some things where like, man, that just seems like it's crazy next level. That game it's not real. So that game they made is to show off what the Unreal Engine can do. So there's gonna be steps like that too, where we're gonna see things like that. It's exciting though. I mean, we're at a new generation of gaming for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine if once they get it, working and everything, have Elder Scrolls or a game that made on that engine would be amazing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Is I really like worlds. I really like open world games with like feel like they're living and stuff like that. That I'm participating in it. Yeah. That's exactly what this engine's boasting.
And it's not taking anything from it. It's just making everything a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And work together more accurately. So I think it's cool.
I'm excited for it. Yeah. It's just to think of where we came from. When we used to play the N64, we thought like, this thing is crazy.
In a world, this is 3-dimensional. Yeah. I can walk around in this place. I don't need to go to school. I'm just going to wander around in this little village or whatever.
It was so nuts, yeah. Diddy Kong, you had the starting zone where you were able to pick a map and stuff like that. That seemed crazy advanced.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, look, that's a living bat, essentially.
Yeah. It's
crazy. All right. So next up, we have a new Star Trek series in the works. Very excited about this.
Yeah.
I was a little upset because I was, when we do these, we do these articles on our website, guys. That's where all the sources are. And whenever we release an article on the website, that's notes for the podcast. That's basically what the website's for. We're not actually a website company or anything. And so I did like a bunch of notes and research because there was these rumors out there that there's a new Star Trek series. Like, oh, we're going to break this on the next podcast. I'm excited to break this news. The next day, finally, CBS gave in because there's just too many rumors. And they released, were like, well, we're going to at least talk about it. So let's go over the rumors that led up to CBS finally having to announce it. First off, there was an active development in Production Weekly. They placed on a series called Star Trek Enterprise. They had given, so the title of the new series is going to be called Strange New World, Star Trek Strange New World. And then this website said, It's an active development, and they're changing it to Star Trek Enterprise, which was already a Star Trek Enterprise. So that's a little weird that they were doing that. But it was confirmation that, hey, there is something happening, because this weekly, this production weekly is actually like an insider source. Then we go over to Screen Rant. They're a very big company, and they have an article with Jonathan Frakes, who had an interview on at a convention, a GalaxyCon convention. And during this is his quote. Let me go ahead and say this. He kind of messed up a little bit. So he said, I love Jonathan Frakes. He's so great. It has been a blessing to have my career to rekindle it with the new Star Treks. It didn't hurt that I learned how to do another craft. The directing has been fantastic for me. When Discovery worked out, then Picard worked out, and now there will be a new one and another one. So everybody was like, wait a minute. He just referred to 2 new shows.
Yeah.
Because we already know of one new show that Section 31 that follows, you remember what's her name? Philippa, the captain that, spoiler alert, the captain that died, and then they got the Empress from
Philippa,
thank you.
I don't remember her last name, but
yeah, it's a long one, starts with a G. So
Giorgio.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So they were going to have her, she's going to be in Discovery a lot apparently, and then they're going to have her in her own series where it's all about Section 31. Well, that show got canceled, but at the time of the interview, it wasn't canceled yet. So he was referring to that one as one of them, but then he said another one.
Yeah.
So it was, okay, hold on. Jonathan Frakes is being tapped to direct something up in the future. So that's pretty crazy. And then we have, and of course the fans have been wanting this new show for a long time. And then we had the reports of casting calls going out. So these weird casting calls that were like, okay, wait a minute, that's for James T. Kirk. That's crazy. So we have a casting call for James T. Kirk and Uhura. Digital Fix and Cinema Spot both claim that The Mandalorian's Jake Cannavale is the top contender for Kirk. Now, that blew my mind, because you know who Jake Cannavale is?
No.
He's some kid who's on Mandalorian. He's like this one kid that's trying to snipe. It's not a big deal. But his dad is that dude that we've been texting about all week. Remember when Squeaks was like, hey, who's this guy? I can't remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so when I come across that he's the new Mandalorian, or he's from Mandalorian, and he's going to be the new James T. Kirk, I'm like, how crazy is that? Like, we've been texting like back and forth on who that is.
Trying to figure out what his name was.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So his son is going to be the new James Kirk. And then they're also casting for Uhura.
Bobby Cannavale is the one we're talking about.
Yeah. We started to look it up again. And then the new one, it says, we got this converted, reports that Uhura is being casted as well. Okay, so we had all these little rumors coming out. And then CBS officially announces the next day, after, all these things are starting to pile up, saying that, yes, there is a new series. It's called Star Trek Strange New World. It will have Anson Mount as Captain Pike. So if you guys are familiar with Discovery Season 2, it's that guy. We're going to have Spock in it. We're going to have Number 1 in it. It's that cast that everybody's been, clamoring for. There was a video that was released with it that was basically everybody from their home saying like, hey, we're excited to be a part of this. And I'm a big Anson Mount fan anyways, from Hell on Wheels. But he was saying, what did he say? He said along the lines of like, we're going to be bringing you guys a classic Star Trek show. And it was just like, oh, man, that's exactly what we wanted. Yeah. It's perfect.
So this means Discovery is also going to continue on its own path, but we're going to have this built from it continuing on the original series.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's perfect because Discovery, now that they're doing, again, spoiler alert, now that they're doing their future jump time thing, they're in a whole nother thing. And they can kind of go back to that scripted thing that they like to do.
Yeah, and it's very Star Trek. Like, it's a whole new, expansion, a new world, new time and stuff. But people love classic, vintage, original Star Trek.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing is, Discovery I enjoy Discovery so much. It's really good, but it has season-long arcs and things like that don't belong.
Yeah.
And if you look back at like Enterprise, Next Generation, it was a new adventure every episode. That's what people wanted. Yeah. There could be some small season-long things like, Tom Paris and B'Elanna are getting together, stuff like that. Yeah. But they're very background compared to what was going on in the episode. That is coming back. So we have Discovery that can do their long arcs, and then we could have Strange New World that's just straight up a Star Trek. Yeah. So that's pretty amazing. And then it's going to be written by Akiva Goldsman, Alex Kurtzman, and Jenny Lumet. All 3 writers will also be producers along Henry, Alan Myers, Heather Cadden, and Rod Roddenberry. Roddenberry's son's coming back for this. That's pretty cool. That's just awesome. To have a Roddenberry involved in the title, you're like, this is good.
Got to be able to throw Roddenberry on the screen every once in a while.
So one of the writers is Kurtzman. He is the one that first off wrote most of Discovery. And he is a writer for the newer Star Trek movies.
Okay.
So he's been in it for a while. He's kind of been envisioning this new Star Trek world. CBS signed a deal with him, I think it was last year, for 5 years of him making Star Trek bigger. So he's kind of, the Kevin Feige now of Star Trek. Nice. And he's been doing a really good job, in my opinion. What is it that you want to see from this new Star Trek?
I mean, I love the glamour and the clean, crisp, look of the new Star Trek, but you can't beat the classic stories and tales and the vibe of classic original Star Trek series. So
Exactly.
I hope they just do a good job melding the two together.
Yeah, I'm exactly looking for that too. Like think of like Black Mirror. Black Mirror is really good, or the short treks that we get now.
Mm-hmm.
There are these episodes that will like show you a different kind of society, maybe, or so that's what was always cool. Is you showed up on a planet and like, hey, on this planet, time moves faster than everywhere else.
Yeah,
and so how what do you do with that? It is so cool.
It's just the what ifs that really get you thinking.
Rick and Morty kind of. I was just thinking like they go to the planet where they do the purge. It has that kind of thing too. I'm really excited for that. That is classic Star Trek, and the fact that they're using Pike's crew is perfect because that's the Enterprise.
Yeah,
that's the ship you have to use, and they're at a point now where they're still discovering different species and stuff like that. It's really good timing. The only thing is, it's in the canon. Kirk is not on his ship at this time, but they're gonna have Kirk on the ship. And so, what do you think about that? Do you think?
Well, what time frame is it based on the original series?
It'll be post Discovery leaving current time, so it's still before original series.
Okay. Oh yeah, because Pike turns it over to Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll kill anybody. I don't think it'll ruin the show to have a little bit of a conflict between the storyline of the original series, but it'd be nice if they could find a way to write that in and justify it.
They did that with the movies. It would be nice if they did that somehow, because it's obviously not the same universe as the movies, because that was also Kirk and Spock and like that.
Mm-hmm.
This was, I think, was supposed to be part of the main timeline.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
I say Kirk gets in trouble and gets suspended for 6 years, and then he comes back later.
Yeah. I like the idea of Ensign having this like pain in the ass kid on his ship that he sees promising, and so he's trying to. And so we'll have moments where Kirk is kind of showing a little bit of like that good leader that he'll eventually be.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, he's got his rock and roll too loud.
Yeah, you see, it'd be cool to see him missing something. He doesn't have that structure of a good leader yet, but he learns it while working under Pike.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And then at the end of season 2 of Discovery, Pike learns of his future. The fact that he'll be eventually, in that box that he's beeping the whole time, he ends up getting really destroyed. Yeah. And so he knows that eventually that he's going to eventually have an accident that will take him out.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that'll be weighing on him the whole time. Like, how will I...
kind of a rush to hurry up and mold this kid as good as he can.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I need to leave the ship in good hands, because I know at some point I'll be in a box.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, moving on to the next thing. Arrowverse scheduled revealed. So due to COVID-19, of course, everything's being either canceled or delayed. Arrowverse is not immune to this, but we did finally get a schedule for them. So they are coming back. Normally they have like 22 episode seasons, the old school television kind of seasons, these big long ones. Now they're going to be doing, for this season, they're going to do like 13 episode runs. They're all starting January 2021. And we have some changes on how the lineup's going to work. So some of the notable changes here. First off, Supergirl and the Legends of Tomorrow won't be in the schedule right away. They're coming the second half. That's normal. If you're a Legends of Tomorrow fan, you're used to that. They always kind of come a little bit later. The other thing is was it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday they're going to have The Flash and the new Superman series back to back. Clearly they're Monster Night. That's going to be the night they're going to try to pull things. Yeah. They have the least amount of competition with other networks on that night. And CW is always on the bottom. I mean, I think they're kind of comfortable with that now because they know that they sell their shows to Netflix. They make a lot of money that way. But on that night, there's no American Idol. There's no whatever else, The Voice, whatever people watch with regular TV. But yeah, we have Batgirl coming in on Sundays, and just it's a good lineup. And then we have Supernatural coming back and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be a good lineup. But they're all coming back. And then we have the crossover was not going to be a full crossover this time because, of course, with the changed filming, they can't do that. Normally, like Crisis on Infinite Earth, they had everybody under the sun there. But what they're going to do this time, they're going to bring Batwoman and Superman together, and they're going to make it like some of the comic book events. Or the best example for you and me is the animated series when they did that crossover with Batman and Superman. It's going to be the same thing where they're trying to solve a joint problem, and Superman likes to knock down walls, and Batman likes to sneak in them. Yeah. So it's going to be that kind of dynamic.
A single adventure that they do, or challenge together, something like that.
Yeah, and so we'll see if we don't have a Joker or anything like that yet, but there might be something like that, where they have a villain that's big enough for both of them to fight. That'd be pretty cool. Have you tried Arrowverse yet?
No, I have tried. I've watched the first like 2 or 3 episodes twice, because I tried it back when it first started and tried it again like a year ago or something, but it's just way too CW for me is what it is.
Yeah.
It's too teen angst, like low budget. If they had some high budget and good writers and could really make a awesome story, then I'd totally be in for it. But it's just not my cup of tea.
That's the common complaint amongst a lot of people who don't like it, is the fact that it has that teen angst to it. The budget is low, but again, you get so much content out of it. I'm clearly a fan, but I get it. I get why there are times where I'm watching like this writing is terrible, but there are episodes where it's like, God, I'm so like rooting for Joe or something like that right now, you know?
Yeah.
But I get that. So it's one of those things, you know, it's kind of like if you're a fan of The Magicians, it's the same thing where the writing's not good, but you're still hooked, you know, it's still good. So I'm excited for it to come back. Paper Mario, The Origami King. We have a release date for that now. It's going to be July 17th. The game will be the standard $60, but there will probably be DLCs added to this as well. They're going to start doing that like they do with the Smash Brothers. They're going to start releasing more DLCs.
Nice.
Wrong thing. The gameplay will be the same as past games, but the new ability is the 1,000-fold arms. That'll let you do distance puzzles, and so it's basically like origami arms. They fold out and you can do puzzles from afar. They showed it off once in the trailer. It looks pretty cool. I think I might actually pick this up. I played Paper Mario, I think, on the N64 for a little bit. But yeah, you remember that one at all?
No, I don't think I ever played it.
Yeah, it's like a 2D side scroller, but then you flip to 3D and it changes how the puzzles look, so you can like see them differently. It was interesting game. Yeah. I know of friends that like really liked it, but for me, it's kind of just interesting. But yeah. All right, moving on to the last of our regular news. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is getting remastered. I'm super excited for this. Nice. You, me, and Miguel used to play this thing all the time.
All the time.
What was your favorite version of the game?
When they would do the graffiti.
That's what
just like a competition or whatever. You have to do different tricks or grind on different surfaces, and it colors it your color, and you fighting over territory or whatever.
And to get it away from the other person, to re-graffiti your way, you have to do a bigger trick on it.
Yeah, you have to get more points on that area.
It's funny because you bring that up. That was like the number one thing on Twitter. Everybody's talking about like, oh man, graffiti mode's coming back and it's gonna be really cool.
So I don't remember the difference between Pro Skate 1 and 2. I know we played 2 the most.
We played 2 the most, but we had 1 as well. There were very little difference between the 2. That's why they're getting released again together.
Okay.
Do you remember your most notable level? Because I know mine.
There was the one with a helicopter. That was pretty cool because you like there was a certain trick you had to do. I think you grind on the prop of the helicopter and you can get it to turn to start.
And then it would break the glass and the side wall, so you can go in and get the extra bonuses in there. Yeah. You're trying to spell out Tony or whatever, you know, different things like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
All the little side adventures are back in this game. Jablinski Games, which is Jack Black's gaming channel, highly suggest you guys watch that. It's hilarious. They actually got to hang out with Tony Hawk at a skating facility, and then Tony revealed to them like, "Hey man, this is of course recorded earlier," and then so they're sitting there playing it, and they're sitting there trying to collect the T's and all stuff like that, and it was just a blast. And it was because it was Tony Hawk, Jack Black, and then his 2 kids. Jack Black's kids are in this shows often, and watching the controller, if you pay attention to it, it goes between Tony Hawk and Jack Black back and forth, and like the kids would play it, and they'll okay, let me go. So it was those 2 playing back and forth. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Nice.
The playlist has been released for this on Spotify, so you guys can check that out. I've been blasting it. It's great. It's only missing 5 songs according to Kotaku, but it is the classic Tony Hawk playlist. And then we also learned that we have 6 returning skaters: Andrew Reynolds, Jeff Rowley, Alyssa Streamer, Chad Muska, Steve Caballero, and Tony Hawk himself. So what's cool is you're going to be able to play the young version of when the game came out and the current version when they have like the gray hair and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I mean, Tony Hawk's kids are his age in the game, so it's pretty nuts. And there's going to be more announced later on in the future. And then, we'll have both ages. So I'm just excited for Tony Hawk to come back. That is such a good classic game. I think it's going to be a day one buy for me. It's one of those that's really fun when like the nephew and niece come over or something like that, and you need something to play with them, because it's one of those games where I might have a little edge on them. That's good. And it's just fun to kind of pass that controller back and forth. And
well, now we have online gameplay. You could play with other people.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Possibly cross platforms and stuff. So it's pretty, it'll be a good addition to the game. You don't have to be sitting on the same couch as somebody to play, such a good game together.
I didn't even think about that. That is a very good point. Yeah. So it's going to get a lot of use. That's cool. All right, let's move on over to our esports desk. First up on the esports desk, we talked about last week, or the week before actually, me and Squeaks were talking about how a lot of Overwatch players are moving over to Valorant. Valorant's the hot ticket right now. They do this thing where you can get beta keys watching on stream. We ended up getting ours. I'm not a big fan of the game, but a lot of people are moving over to it. Now CSGO is experiencing this as well. So the one of the biggest names, his name is Ryan Abadir, but everybody knows him as Freakazoid. He's leaving Swole Patrol, his team on CSGO, moving over to Valorant. Swole Patrol is being decimated right now because also Victor Food Wong, Jordan Zelzis Monumentoro, they moved over to Valorant, and then Austin Cooper Abadir is moving to a different team on CSGO. So basically, Swole Patrol, I think there's only one player still on that team. They've been decimated. I think they should just call it a day. And then other players leaving for Valorant from CSGO are Braxton Swag Pierce, Austin Crashers Roberts, and Hunters Sick Mims. It's one of those things where Valorant's it's where the views are at. You got to go where people are watching. It's very clean game, very sharp. I was hoping it was more ability based. It's definitely not. It's definitely more CSGO than it is Overwatch. I don't know. But can you blame these guys for moving?
Well, I'm wondering, is this going to be short lived? Are they moving just because they think that's going to be the hot ticket that people want to watch? But when they realize that the game isn't what they expect it to be, or maybe it's not supported like it should, or something like that, is it going to lose views and then they wish or just choose to go back?
That's a good point. Yeah, it could be, because right now it's in beta, so it could come out and it not be accepted well. The thing is it's ran by Riot, who does League of Legends, right? So you have already a pretty well-established esports company running this thing.
Yeah.
They've released how they're going to handle esports. It's very good and it's fair. It's why a lot of the Overwatch people are moving over. But it's just such a gamble. It's hard to have that esports player life where you're gambling on trends so much,
Yeah. And Riot has a lot on their plate with League of Legends. Is this game going to pull away from their support of League of Legends and what they put into it?
That's true. If I was a League of Legends pro, I might be the LCS guys. I might be a little bit concerned by this.
Yeah.
Because obviously everybody's talking Riot right now. And actually, Riot has actually made a couple additional games based off of League of Legends, like the card game and Team Tactics. Mm-hmm. So if I was an LCS player, I might be a little concerned by that. Like, hey, maybe they're starting to drop some interest in our game, which isn't too bad. It's a well-made game. So a quote from Freakazoid, and this shows kind of how his mentality here. He's always been kind of like an arrogant player. So I'm going to throw that out there. Sometimes life says out with the old and gotta go with the new. I'm quitting CS and going to playing Valorant. I can't wait to be a part of a team that competes at Worlds or whatever it'll be called, and fucking shit up against teams worldwide. Let's go. That was Freakazoid. He is the Terrell Owens of esports, if you guys know football. And
sounds like Daniel when you get him pumped up.
It does sound like Daniel. Yeah, it actually does. Because then I'm like, Daniel, calm down, man. You're just gonna be playing mid. It's to me, I'm fascinated because the scores. We just finished up some CS:GO stuff. We'll report on that next week. And there's a new event coming up in August that hopefully will kind of re-spark some attention on CSGO. Mm-hmm. It'll become, August 31st. It's season 12, so ESLs. So hopefully it'll kind of re-spark some interest in it. But to me, it's this trending and following it as a pro to bank your entire career on this. Yeah. It's got to be tough. The hours they put in. I know people are like, well, how are these guys professional athletes? They put in some hours, 12-hour days playing the same game. And it's not necessarily like, oh, it's because I'm enjoying this game or having a lot of fun. It's so that they can master the reaction times and the way they communicate with each other. There's so much more to it than just like, I like this game.
It sounds kind of like, to put it in non-gamer terms, like if you're an NFL player for the Cowboys, but you hear that the Raiders got some really good players or a really good coach or something like that, and so you decide, I'm going to dump and go over there because they're going to have a really good season. Maybe they don't have a good season. Maybe the next couple of years are actually their worst or something like that. And then you don't have the choice to go back. Or
will that coach work out? Yeah, you don't know. There's a bunch of variables.
It's a big gamble on your career, on what people are watching you for. So,
and then that answers to the question of esports in general, because you're sitting there switching teams, what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you're a Dallas Cowboys player, and then all of a sudden, hey, the Oakland A's in baseball have a really good coach.
Yeah, there you go. You're switching teams and games.
Will you translate to the new game as well?
Yeah.
Because some of these players, I think the CSGO players will do good, but the people moving from Overwatch, Overwatch is much more dependent on the abilities. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's not so much about your shooting accuracy and stuff like that.
Reaction times and stuff.
Exactly. So I'm fascinated by these guys that they're raking in big dough on this, and they put in their entire lives right now. Yeah. That's why the careers are kind of short-lived, because these careers go 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Actually, Freakazoid's been around for like 7 years. they're kind of short lived compared to other careers, but it's because it's daunting, that schedule. I mean, it is, even your off hours, you're streaming nonstop to make up the money in between.
Yeah.
It's very early days of the NFL when it was like small teams and, hey, when you're done, working on the football field, we need you to get back to the steel factory.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's that, and the back to the steel factory part is streaming online on Twitch, because then they have their donations to that too, so they're making that money there. It is daunting, these guys.
Yeah,
it's
a constant grind.
Yeah, athletes for sure. They might not use physical sports or anything like that, but they're definitely athletes. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. One esports Singapore Major 2020 was just canceled. This is the one of the big Dota events, and is held by PGL. And it was a $1 million prize pool, and it was originally planned for June 20 to 28th in Singapore. But unfortunately, as with everything else, is being canceled due to the COVID-19. They were not going to postpone it. They just said, let's go ahead and cancel it. Let's not even do an online version. So it's moving over to it's moving to 2021. They'll pick it up there. And then they said here in a statement, due to the current global situation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and the current regulations in Singapore is very tight on their people right now. Rightfully so. Everybody's trying to be locked down. We want to inform everybody that the last Dota 2 major of the year, Singapore Major, will be canceled. Take care, be strong, keep yourself safe and healthy. That's from PGL. This follows up Valve's cancellation of their International 10 tournament that was planned for August. So 2 big Dota 2 tournaments have just been canceled. It's unfortunate, of course. You think they can handle it online, but they just don't want to chance it. They're just going to cancel it instead. It's too bad. That's just hard. The way the world is right now.
Yeah. And a lot of these events, I think the hardest thing is that majority of the money that they make are from people that are attending.
Yes.
But I wish they would attempt to, you don't have to get people in the same room, just have them in the same building on the same, server or something like that, and do the same competitions, just keep them all isolated, keep everyone healthy. But I know it's hard, and in the end, with all that effort they put in, they probably won't get the same return on investment. So for them, it's probably smarter just to wait until next year when they can expect an audience to show up and buy merch and all that stuff.
And another hard part too is like when I go to some of these live events, there's so much branding on the walls.
Yeah,
you're seeing the T-Mobile sign, and so a lot of the sponsors aren't pitching in if you're not going to be able to see their stuff a lot. It'll be like, exactly. They could do brought to you by T-Mobile, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So there's that. We'll have to see what the future of esports is. They need to be able to switch on to online faster, I think, because I don't think we're out of the woods on this thing. So esports is basically the only sports going on right now. That's why we've had such a boom in it. I mean, esports is on fire right now. It's crazy. But to think Dota 2, one of the biggest names in the world, is not moving their tournaments online is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Overwatch quickly did it. They had to cancel 2 major events, and now they're on. So it's kind of weird that these guys aren't on there, but we'll see how it goes. It's interesting times right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be a big transition of how you make your money and spend your money in that process, because it's not going to be a hands-on affair anymore. It's going to be all online as much as possible, at least. So,
especially in the Asian region, they put a lot of money into these arenas and stuff like that. Yeah. And there has been money spent in the U.S. too. I know Blizzard just did that a few years back for the Overwatch League. That's a lot of money to spend on a facility when it's a video game that you can handle online quite a bit. And then, of course, there's all kinds of how does latency work and stuff like that. You have to be able to ensure the same amount of latency for both parties.
Yeah.
That's why it's so nice to have them in the same building, because they are on the same latency. We're going to keep covering this. We're going to keep bringing it to you guys as things develop. I know there's a lot of Dota 2 fans that are really missing this, so that is unfortunate. All right, let's move into our top 5 Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes. All right, John, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Let's see. So I noted all mine, but I didn't necessarily put them in a 5 order because it's hard. There's so many.
Yes.
I couldn't kick one out of the list really, but I had to narrow it down to 5.
So these are like 13 episode seasons, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember texting you. I was like, I could easily do 5 per season.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's crazy. I mean, if you haven't seen the show, just go binge it.
It's just on Netflix now, guys.
Take a week off of work.
What a huge grab by Netflix. That was huge.
Watch all the Legend of Korra's, just everything Avatar.
Yeah, Korra's not on there yet, but I'm sure it'll be on there soon.
And go to Walmart and buy them.
It's worth the purchase. And they have a box set they're both included.
Yeah.
And then you just spend a week being happy.
Yeah.
All right, you want me to go first or you go first?
I'll go first. I think my my number 5, I'll have to go with the Siege of the North Part 2.
We're going to have a lot in common. I know that much.
So that is the
I don't have that one.
final episode of season 1, episode 20. It was a pretty awesome episode because we've been following these characters and they're developing stuff like that. But we know Aang has this avatar state and we haven't seen that much yet.
And it's uncontrollable at this phase, right?
We haven't seen him control it yet. It was just like a emotional reaction sometimes. So the North tribe, the Northern Water tribe, is being attacked by the Fire Nation, and so a lot is going on, a lot of character development and stuff. But for the most part, they're being attacked. Aang has to go into the Avatar state and creates this giant sea monster or whatever to fight off the Fire Nation. Pretty much destroys their fleet. But in the process too, Yui, the princess, Yui, the princess has to sacrifice herself to replace, I guess, or more or less replace
basically
the moon spirit, because they had the sea and moon spirit,
and it keeps everything in balance
and restores the balance for the Water Nation. But it was a very emotional thing because Sokka was in love with her, and she's the princess to the tribe and everything like that. So it's just an all around really good episode. They put a lot into it. It was just a really awesome action scene with Aang actually fighting back in the Avatar state, controlling it at the last minute when he needed to. So all around good episode.
One thing I like about that episode, and a lot of mine have this in common, Avatar has a good way of mixing action and heart. And definitely. I mean, you're sitting there, you take a break from the action, and you're watching Sokka fall in love and stuff like that, and then you go back to the action, and you're just like, man, this nation's gonna be wiped out.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. Should we explain what Avatar is, or no? Are people on board?
We could. It doesn't hurt.
I'm gonna go real brief on this then. Okay.
Give some foundation to it.
Avatar takes place in a world with 4 different nations that each nation has the ability to control an element. 100 years.
There are civilians, a lot of civilians that don't have any of those abilities too.
Very good point. You're born with a bending ability.
Yeah, it took a while for me to realize that.
100 years in the past from this, where the series takes place, the Avatar, which is a person who represents that can do all 4 bendings. And when they die, their body is reincarnated into the next avatar and stuff like that. So it's carried on. The avatar was frozen in an emergency. And since that time, the Fire Nation, one of the 4 nations, has essentially taken over all the other 4 nations, other 3 nations.
Through a 100-year war, like conquering the Earthbenders and all that.
Yeah. So then when Aang, who is the avatar, comes out of the frozen state, he sees a world that's in turmoil, and he's trying to fight back the evil Fire Lord, Ozai. So that's basically it.
It's worth noting he's just a child. He was like 12 years old or something like that. Usually the Avatar trains until they're their 20s or 30s, and then they restore balance and maintain the world. And here he was just a little like 12-year-old kid trying to help
with really nobody to train him either.
Yeah.
So he's having to learn from scrolls and stuff. So it's hard. Okay. Let me go to my number 5. So the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna tell you what the story is and then why I think it should be on my 5. Okay. So here's a story. My number 5 is The Blind Bandit. I love Toph so much. Is that on your list?
No.
Okay, good. I know we're going to have multiple, so I'm glad at least a couple of these aren't.
Yeah.
Still searching for an earthbender teacher, Aang and his friends stumble across a small village. When they hear about an underground earthbending tournament, they decide to go to it. Aang finds a teacher that fits his description of King Bummy. I love it. Boomy, thank you.
Yeah.
Her name is Toph Beifong, a blind 12-year-old girl who is tougher than she looks. When they meet Toph, is at first reluctant because her parents don't know she's good at bending, as good at bending as she is. After her parents discover her secret life, she decides that she wants to join the Avatar gang and help them master earthbending. So all my episode descriptions are from IMDb, guys. If you wanted to do that. Okay. So the reason I love this episode, the whole first season, we don't have an earthbender, but we know we eventually have to get to the point where he has to learn Earth. Yeah. And the second book is called Earth. And so not only does he have to find somebody who will teach him earthbending, but it has to be able to fit in the crew as well. It's not like he just learn and walk away. They travel with them. And so you didn't think that they were missing anything until they run into Toph, who's this like smart aleck, badass girl who's just like, and she's blind and she's able to do basically what Daredevil does kind of thing. She plants her foot on the ground and then she's able to feel the waves as it goes through things, and she could see where everybody's at. And so the very few times it messes her up is when somebody's able to float, or they're like really like ninjas or something like that, And then eventually she uses this to discover metal bending. Yeah. So this was the introduction to my favorite character. Yeah. That it boils down to.
And that was one, like you're saying, if someone can float, that was how they first met, was they fought in an arena, right? Toph and Aang.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of funny that.
Yeah, and she calls him like what? Twinkle Toes?
Yeah, Twinkle Toes. That's it.
Because he's so light on the ground and it's hard to track him.
He'll like kind of hover for a second until he just gently lands.
Yeah.
And so that was cool.
It was really cool. And when the first episode you meet her, you're like, she'll fit in the group just fine. Because you're actually kind of worried this whole time, like, who's this going to be? You know, she's going to be perfect for it, you know. I just love her. All right, what's your number 4, man?
All right. My number 4, since we're talking about Toph, I'll go ahead and go with Imprisoned.
Okay.
Which I didn't get the whole synopsis of the episode. I just remember, especially, this is the episode where she develops metal bending.
Yeah.
So she's captured, I believe it was that her parents paid for people to go find her, catch her, and bring her back home.
Yeah.
Is what it was. It wasn't the Fire Nation. So she gets captured by these, goons or whatever. They throw her in a metal box, and as she's, being taken down the road, she focuses. I believe she was meditating on something Aang told her too, because they previously had talked about how earthbending began and all that, and that there was minerals in the metal. That metal comes from rock. So she's an earthbender. Metal and rock are the same, and she was focusing. Of course, she's blind, so she has less senses to distract her, and she could see the tiny, molecules or whatever, particles of rock in the metal. And then from that, a moment of desperation and want and dedication, she was able to bend the metal open. And then she just literally herself in that time just developed a whole nother type of bending.
Yeah.
It's amazing because then you see in Legend of Korra, metal bending is a mastery that, a lot of people have to go through to get certain careers and stuff like that. Yeah. And all the police formed after her use metal bending on a regular basis. Yeah. It's a really awesome scene, an awesome episode. So I love it.
That's a good one. That is a really good one. Yeah. And that brings up a good point. Her whole family is super rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she could be sitting at home just sipping tea all day, but no, she wants to be out there fighting in the ring.
And that's what they want her to be, a dainty princess and just, dress and play the part. And she's like, no, I'd rather, roll in the mud and, fight with the boys. So that was pretty cool.
In Legend of Korra, guys, I again highly suggest you guys watch that. We see her as an older lady, and she still had that Spitfire attitude.
Yeah, that grit.
It's great. All right, my number 4 is the Firebending Masters. So here's a synopsis to this one. Zuko has joined up with Aang's group and is now ready to teach Aang firebending. Unfortunately, Zuko has found out that he has lost his ability and now must relearn it. Zuko and Aang travel to find the source of the bending, so they both can learn from the Firebending Masters. Now, I think this episode's super important.
Yeah.
Because up to this point, we assume firebenders are evil. It was basically Uncle Iroh who's not, and Zuko kind of. And then you learn that firebending comes from the rage that's inside of them. So it's like you can't not be an asshole because that's how you firebend. Right. That's why his sister's so good at it. But they know it. These guys go and Zuko, he lost his firebending ability because he's starting to come at peace with himself as he's joining Team Avatar and stuff like that. So he's not able to use his rage. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But Iroh doesn't have rage.
True.
And Uncle Iroh, that's my favorite character. That's a hard one. Anyway, so they go to basically this temple that's the original source of firebending, and they find this culture that used to worship the sun. And they learn that firebending isn't necessarily about rage; it's about life, heat of life, and that's the energy and source of life. And then they go into this ritual. And they find the original 2 firebenders, which are these twin dragons. Yeah. And they do that badass like dance move, whatever, where they're both circling and the dragons are mimicking them. Yeah. And it's what I use for the picture on the site. And it's super cool. What a great episode. And at that point, it's like, okay, it's okay to root for firebenders now too. Yeah. So we needed that one. It really can turn the page.
So you realize the perspective you've had from what you've been taught. You've been taught by hateful firebenders from the beginning. Yeah. But then you see that that's not how they were, and that's not how all of them are, that they actually come from a place of peace.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like, it reminds you kind of like Klingons. Klingons, you think, oh, they're just war hungry. But then you're like, oh, no, they're honor bound.
Yeah.
And so there can be, there's another version of them too. All right, Jonathan, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is going to have to be the Blue Spirits.
That is my number 3 as well.
Nice.
Perfect. So go ahead and go first.
Okay. So again, I haven't watched these episodes in a while, so I don't have a full synopsis of the episode. You have a full thing. You want to just read it?
It's a very short one that I got from IMDb. When Aang is captured by the Fire Nation, his only hope is a mysterious masked figure.
Oh, wow.
That's a short one.
Super detailed. Okay, well, so I know more than that. I remember the beginning of this episode because it was kind of a funny episode, too, where Aang and his crew were out in the woods somewhere, and they ate something weird. I think they licked a toad or something crazy like that. I think that was the cure, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think they ate some bad fruit or something like that. Okay. They got sick. They're all loopy and acting weird. Yeah, I think Sokka found fruit. and brought it back.
Of course, Sokka's would have found it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're all loopy and stuff like that. And Aang's like, "Well, I got to find something to help them." And anyway, so he goes off into the town and then gets captured. And so the reason that Zuko frees him is it's just an awesome scene. But yeah, Zuko puts on this blue mask to disguise himself, changes his persona, so to speak, as the Blue Spirit, uses dual wields big swords, doesn't use his firebending because he cannot reveal who he is.
Yeah.
He fights to free Aang because he wants to be the one that captures Aang. He needs to capture Aang and bring him to his father to restore his honor in the family and the Fire Nation and all that stuff. So you see Zuko fighting off waves of Fire Nation guards who are trained by masters of the Fire Nation, and he is not even using his bending. He's I think 17 or 16 in the series. He's doing all these backflips and jumping off the walls and stuff like that, just kicking ass, really, and not using his ability. So it just shows how much skill he has. Even though he's not the best firebender,
right,
he is one of the best fighters for sure.
Yeah.
And this gives us a glimpse of hope in his character because we see that he's saving Aang. He doesn't care for Aang because obviously it's his prey that he's trying to capture. But he's like fighting for honor and integrity. We see that his character doesn't chase Aang because he wants to murder the Avatar. He's chasing Aang because he wants his dad to love him. He wants to be accepted in his culture and his people. And this is the only way he can do it. And so the way he handles Aang and works with him, we see like, not only do these guys work together, badass, this is pretty awesome. But we see hope that, if he was to not be so bound by his will to his father, I guess, that he could easily be fighting for the good.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. And I like the idea that he's a really good fighter. It reminds me of in the pilot episode, but I don't think it's on Netflix. We see that they meant for him to use fire daggers a lot. Yeah. So, which is cool because it was just like little daggers he'd make with fires, and then he'd be doing cool fighting style.
Yeah.
It was like, those are just daggers. It's not like he's fire bending much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really like this episode. The reason I picked it is because this whole time we knew Aang was our main protagonist, right? And the show's named after him. But then I think at this point it starts to dawn on the audience that this show has two protagonists, and you're watching Zuko as well.
Yeah.
There's of course Sokka and everybody else, but Zuko's the other protagonist because you're watching his transition as well from, evil, wanting daddy's love into his own full-fledged honorable leader of his people. And we know from basically the very end and how this thing wraps up, that's exactly what happens. Aang becomes a supreme avatar, one of the best that's ever existed, or the best version of himself that's ever existed. And then Prince Zuko becomes this Fire Lord Zuko, who's just restores the honor to the Fire Nation.
Yeah, ushers in a peace for generations.
Helps to build a public city and stuff like that. So that's what I loved about this episode. It was first season. It wasn't very deep into the season, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait a minute,
episode 13.
Oh, okay, well it's pretty deep. But it's like this is actually a two story show.
That's so good.
Really liked it.
And I love that you see Zuko's transition while he has his uncle Iroh as a perfect example of how to balance that peace and honor. And you're really hoping the whole time. You see him resist it all the time, but you're hoping he'll embrace it and just follow his uncle versus following his father.
So good.
Yeah, very good.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 is the Tale of Ba Sing Se.
Okay. What's your number 1?
Is the
Sozin's Comet.
Sozin's Comet. Yeah,
okay.
The finale.
My number 2 is Sozin's Comet. My number 1 is Tales of Ba Sing Se.
We can go either way.
So we'll go in your order. That's fine by me. Okay. So go ahead and talk about Tales of Ba Sing Se.
So Tales of Ba Sing Se is an awesome episode. It has all the crew goes to this huge city, Earth capital, I think.
It's the Earthbender capital, yeah.
Earth Nation, Earthbender, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Earth Nation,
yeah. But so they all just kind of go out into the city because they've been traveling and on Appa's back for forever now. I want to say actually in Ba Sing Se is when Appa gets captured.
I think so, and I think right now they're trying to lay low. They're trying to hide from people right now.
Yeah,
that's why they're just both sides are.
Yeah. But so you follow several, journeys. They're all their separate paths. But for me, the most notable part of the whole thing, because I'm just going to cut to the chase. Everyone has fun and stuff.
Yeah.
Is Uncle Iroh's story.
Get the tissues out.
Oh my God. This cartoon just gets you crying. It is so good.
Writing this article is like, oh my God, I forgot.
Right?
It's that good.
He's what was it? He's like singing a song and walking down the streets, and
he's going to different vendors and buying stuff too, and we don't know what he's doing. We just think he's always doing his chores.
He like gives a flower to a little kid or something like that.
Yeah, and he's getting tea and stuff.
Yeah, and then he's going up to this tree, and the whole time we don't realize it until the very end, and the song reflects exactly what he's doing. He's mourning the death of his son.
It's the anniversary,
and it kind of completes the picture of, because he was this great Fire Lord. He was the Fire Lord, and then he stepped down and gave it to his brother. And he realized on the siege of Ba Sing Se, he was the only Fire Lord that could penetrate this massive city that was built for defense. And in the midst of that, his son died, who was a Fire Nation soldier or whatever. And so it just destroyed him. It's like nothing matters now. If I'm if I don't have my son, then everything else is just a wash.
What am I here for? Why am I fighting?
Yeah, I'm sure that helped him realize what was important in life. So he stepped down, gave the Fire Nation to his brother, and chose to live a humble life. But when you just realize that that's what he's dealing with and thinking about, and it's just a super emotional episode. So
it is such an emotional episode for other people too, the other characters as well, because we see they've always been on the run or always chasing, and we finally see a day-to-day life of them, and they're just playful and just caring for each other. But it does all boil down to Uncle Iroh. Yeah, you had a good point there. Yeah, it's the anniversary of his son's death. It's also the anniversary of him sieging that city he's living in now, and most at peace because he has a little tea shop that he's running now. Yeah, and he was this massive general figure in the Fire Nation, and he set it all down, and he became the enlightened person. He dropped rage and accepted life. It's such a beautiful. It's the pinnacle of the show. I'd argue it's number one myself, but and not long after, the voice actor for Uncle Iroh died, and so it was a really good goodbye to him.
And this episode was dedicated to him.
We was okay. Yeah. So just fantastic episode. All right, your number one then is Sozin's comment.
Yes.
You want to go ahead and speak to that?
Oh yeah. So I hate to keep saying this. I don't remember majority of the plot, but I remember the
end.
Yeah, I remember the episode before this left it on a cliffhanger, and then this is the big battle between Aang and Fire Lord Ozai. But it was there was a lot of turmoil in Aang because he was divided between he even had to seek out counsel from the other avatars and stuff. How can I kill this guy? I just can't get myself to murder somebody, no matter how good it does the world, how just it is, how much he deserves it, how many other people he's gonna murder. I just can't murder somebody. It's not who I am. It's not what the Earthbenders or the Airbenders would do, the Air Nomads. It's not my way. It shouldn't be the Avatar way. And he's trying to find, like, how do you justify it? And a lot of people are saying, you just got to do it, bud. Like,
you got to kill him.
It's the only way. Right? Like, we'll figure out the moral stuff later on, but you just got to end this so we can all be peaceful, and it's going to make the world a better place. So to me, I mean, it was a beautiful episode, a lot of action and intense scenes, but the fact that he found a way around it, and I can't remember if it was that when he got that touch from
took his bending away.
No, yeah. I know
okay.
the resolution, but how Aang came to that conclusion that would work.
Oh, it's from the giant turtle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he like enlightened him.
Yeah.
So Aang fights him near death, and Ozai finally more or less surrenders for a moment. And then instead of killing him, Aang takes his bending powers, which is beautiful because now he's weak. You'll pretty much leave him to live a humble life as a normal person. He might try to inspire riots or bring people together or whatever. But
he's done. His son, and another thing too is while that's happening, which is a wonderful moment, like when you actually see that moment where he has the Fire Lord down on his knees and he's just taking from it, and you can see like the Fire Lord's corrupting him just a little bit, then he fights back. It's like
he almost takes him completely. He goes all the way down to like his last bit,
just a little bit, and then you see boom, no, and so it's showing that good will prevail. You cannot win this.
Yeah.
But while that's all going down, you also see the Fire Lord's two heirs fighting it out.
Yeah.
And so we have Azula, Princess Azula, who at this point has gone full on mad.
Yeah.
But she's spitting blue fire. I mean, she is as good as Prince Zuko is at fighting. Yeah. She is at pure firebending.
Yeah, she's the epitome of like raw power and firebending. Yes.
Stronger than her father, I'd argue. Yeah. Although her father was holding up to the Avatar quite well.
And I think she's less refined than most firebenders, but she has so much raw power it makes up for it.
So Katara's helping this and stuff like that. Everybody's trying to help out, take out Azula. And eventually, I mean, it's an image that's just ingrained in my head so much when they finally took her down. They chain her down to each side, and she's just sitting there like a dragon
Freaking
chained
out.
down.
Yeah.
She's swinging her head back and forth, just spitting blue fire everywhere. And it was just like, she's subdued.
Yeah.
And the 5th season that they were actually beginning to work on and then decided not to do was about redeeming Azula, which would be like, oh my God, right?
Yeah. Because at that point, her brother would have taken place as Fire Lord, and I'm sure he would have been involved in that, like giving her a chance to redeem herself. And everything.
She would have been basically imprisoned, and then like, I don't want to see my sister die. Yeah. And then so anyway, it was just imagery wise one of the most sustaining images I have of the series. Yeah. Of her sitting there in
chains, kneeling on the ground, just shooting fire every direction she can.
Full rage. Like it's amazing how much those characters divided and went the opposite directions of the Fire Nation. Yeah. And she is the pinnacle of full rage firebending. Yeah. Really cool. Any other things you want to mention? Any other episodes? There's so many. The one I want to shout out is the one that everybody thinks is the absolute worst episode. It's got the worst ratings and like that, and I actually really enjoy it. I think it's called The Great Divide, where they go into that canyon and there's two different societies going in there with them, and they each have a story of their origins. And basically it boils down to like, well, your people, you're the leader of your people screwed over my people. And then the other people are like, well, no, the leader of your people screwed over my people. Yeah. And so they have these long storied paths where they hate each other. And Aang is in there with them. It feels like a filler episode. I'm not going to lie to you. That's why everybody hates it.
It's perfect, though.
It's really good because Aang has to learn how to be the Avatar beyond just firebending and all that stuff like that.
You can't fight everything away. Sometimes you have to make peace. It's just sitting and talking about something.
You are the peacemaker of the entire world. Yeah. And so what he ends up doing is he ends up lying to both sides. Yeah. And telling them like, oh, I knew. No, those were both little kids and they were fighting over the ball.
They were my friends. I'm 100 years old. So I was a little kid with them. And it was just, they fought over this ball, but then they made up and everybody was happy. So it's okay.
And then both societies were like, oh, okay, it's fine. Yeah. It's kind of dorky and but it was still a very good episode. Yeah. I actually think it's one of the better episodes in my opinion, just because it was actually important to the story. Yeah. I liked it a lot.
And if this show is hopefully mostly aiming for children as their audience, these are the kind of lessons we want them to learn. This is what they need to know.
That was probably the most kid-friendly episode as well. So yeah,
that was a pretty I can't think of a bad episode really.
Everybody thinks that's the bad episode and I'm like, I enjoyed it. Right. Yeah. Any of them that you can think of? Any other ones that you want?
I love all the cabbage stand scenes.
Oh my God,
I like how they continue that in Legend of Korra too.
They do, yeah. And he has like a bigger company though. Legend of Korra, it's great.
Cabbage Corp or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, there's so many good ones. The Great Library, and it's just, it's just nonstop. In the final season, there's the players, I forget what it's called, but they recap the entire season. I was going to put it in my top 5, but I didn't. It's actually probably my number 6.
Oh, I remember that when they watch a play and it kind of goes over, it's all exaggerated and stuff, but it goes over their adventures until then.
Yeah, and then rewatching that, it's leading up to the finale. Aang and Katara. Why am I saying her name all wrong? Katara, yeah.
It just sounds like Korra.
Yeah, that's what was messing me up is that. And they finally basically say I love you. Yeah. And so it's been kind of the side plot that's building up this whole time. Mm-hmm. But it was very well done. It reminds me of like if you guys think of Thor Ragnarok when Loki's in charge and he has like a play always being done with Matt Damon as his brother. Yeah. It's that kind of thing where you're seeing it all retold to you, but it's really a delightful episode. It's very well done.
Or Game of Thrones.
There you go. Yeah.
You're watching the play.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Game of Thrones is a good example of it. Avatar, can't suggest it enough.
If you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing. Go watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it all.
If you guys go watch Avatar, hit us up that you're doing that. Maybe we'll watch along with you and tweet about every episode that we come across, something like that.
And let us know what's your favorite episode.
That's a biggie. Let us know what your favorite. Don't just say all the 2-parters. Yeah. Because that's really hard.
Don't follow the ones we watched.
Yeah.
Or listed.
Let us know when you're on the Bossing Say episode.
Yes. Try not to cry.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Geek Freaks podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Geek Freaks Pod. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. You can email us. We have our Patreon and a store. All those links are in the description. Thank you so much for joining us,